It's growing on me, but you might need a little prep time for this one. It's showtime, folks. So, Joker Folie, Deux? I don't know. Joker 2, you guys get it. You know what? I don't speak French, I'm sorry. But you guys get it. Joker Folie, Deux is the sequel to a very successful first Joker film. Now, guys, going into this one, look, I knew it was going to be a musical when they announced it maybe a couple of years ago, something like that, that Joker 2 was going to be a musical. So that gave me enough time to kind of like prepare my mind for what I expected. And, you know, I remember telling friends of mine that I really thought that this was going to be something that just all the musical elements were going to be taking part in the character's mind. As we've seen in Joker, the previous one, a lot of things that Arthur Fleck is seeing in his point of view aren't actually happening. So I figured that a lot of the musical elements that were going to come into this had to do something with that. And I wish I had, you know, written it down, or I had something to say that I did, because it was pretty spot on. But going into that, you know, I kind of was able to prepare myself for the fact that it was going to be a musical. Personally, I'm not a big fan of musicals, so I was a little bit worried about it. But I really, really enjoyed Joker. So going into Joker 2, I was, you know, cautiously optimistic that they would be able to do something with the product. You know, it was one of those things where I was a little worried. You got a sequel to something that was actually really, really good. And I really didn't want to see the legacy of that tarnished. And, well, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's growing on me, but first of all, let's get into the plot. The plot follows the events of Joker a couple of years after Arthur has committed his crimes. You know, he's already in Arkham Asylum and he's been spending time there. And it's gonna follow basically his trial after he has committed these crimes. And that's about all I'm gonna get into without getting into spoilers. Now, I'll start with the pros. But the thing is though, the pros of this movie are things I was not worried about. So starting up, pro number one are the performances. I mean, I wasn't worried about Joaquin Phoenix or any of the supporting cast. They all give very exceptional performances. One person that I've been really happy to see grow as an actress is Lady Gaga. You know, I remember seeing her in, I think, American Horror Story when she first started acting. And I was always like, really? We're bringing Lady Gaga into this? But seeing her grow as an actress, you know, from A Star is Born to The House of Gucci, now to Joker, Part 2, I really, really enjoy watching Lady Gaga on screen. Now, granted, she sang in 2 of those movies. I don't care, really. I know what Lady Gaga is good at, and she is an amazing vocal artist. As far as like what her range is, I mean, we've seen Lady Gaga before, like the persona of Lady Gaga, and we've seen what she's been able to do in movies. And that's something that I've really enjoyed, but that was not something I was worried about going into the movie. But it should be noted that the performances are great. What they're trying to do is definitely executed well in the movie. I think the chemistry between Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix is there. Joaquin Phoenix really puts himself on the line as far as his body performance in this movie as well. I mean, it goes without saying, if you've seen the first Joker, you know he gets really skinny, really just down to the bone, and he does it again for this one, and you have to applaud that kind of performance. It's not that it's good or bad, it's just one of those things that I just think it's very, very dedicated to the role. And there was nothing I can say badly about them. Even some of the supporting cast, just characters that just have a little bit of screen time, they execute their job well, and I think it was very, very well done in that regard. Second pro I have are the vocal performances. Now, again, it wasn't something I was worried about. I know Lady Gaga can sing. We know Lady Gaga can sing. That is not a concern of mine. Personally, I really love the way she crafts her singing to the character. You know, when you see her in A Star is Born, she crafts it to that up and coming kind of singer. And in this one, she really plays that Harley Quinn or Lee Quinn role very well. And her singing is kind of like it's kind of following that haunting kind of sound, you know, of something that is mystical, but at the same time grounded in Arthur's world. And it's one of those things that I really enjoyed. Joaquin Phoenix, you know, it's hard to compete with Lady Gaga, but we know that Joaquin Phoenix can sing. If you've seen Walk the Line, you know Joaquin Phoenix, he can hold a tune. And so I was genuinely okay with the musical numbers. Now, I'll get into some of the mixed when it comes to that though. One of the mixed things I had about this movie was just certain musical numbers were better than others. I felt that you had some portions of the movie that were grounded back to Joker style filmmaking. Like, it was great. But other kind of musical moments of the movie were just kind of not as good. It was just kind of one of those things where I felt like they were trying too hard to be artsy and then trying too hard to go back to the grounded element. I feel like at some point you kind of have to make a decision. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it was kind of one of those things where I can see how that balance might be a little bit mixed. The last thing I think I'll get into as far as the pros go is it's still a beautifully shot film. I really enjoy the color schemes that they have going on here. I really like the way that this movie is presented. You know, you still have that grounded kind of gritty look from Joker during portions of the film. And whenever you get the musical numbers, you get these over-the-top kind of set pieces that are colorful and that can really just kind of like show the mood or the emotions that Arthur is going through. And I think that that works for me as a pro in this film. Getting into the cons of this, and I think really it's just one con, but it is a major con for this. This film feels really, really disjointed. Now, it's hard to follow something that is as good as the original Joker. I really, really enjoyed Joker. I loved the grounded kind of approach to watching a man kind of just start to lose his cool, just a character study of that and the events that happen to Arthur that lead him to this breaking point. It is a tragedy to watch in Joker, and you're kind of, as much as he's not a hero in the movie, you're kind of pulling from, you're feeling for all these things that he's going through. And I feel like they really, really tried to keep that going. In Joker 2 though, what's going on is they're throwing these musical elements in there, so you're not getting that grounded element as often, you know? I think what happened with this movie, and I'm glad I waited a couple of days before I started talking about this because it allowed me to gather my thoughts, is that the musical numbers are kind of disjarring. The movie's trying too hard to be that grounded sequel to the original Joker. It's trying to be this over-the-top musical, and then it's trying to be this legal drama, and it just doesn't work for me. And I feel like for general audiences, it's gonna be kind of strange for them. Another thing about this is, like, for people that aren't fans of musicals, it is essential to hear the lyrics of what's going on because it's playing a huge role in this. You have to be able to listen to the lyrics of these songs because they're telling part of the story. And I feel like a lot of people tune out the actual lyrics and just listen to the numbers, just listen to the sounds and the melodies and stuff, and kind of tune out and think, oh, this is wacky and stuff. Before this recording, Spotify actually dropped the album with the track list, and I was able to listen to it, and listen to the lyrics of all the songs that they're singing. And it really kind of feeds into the tragedy of what happens in this movie. I think that helped the movie grow on me a little bit, because if I had done this video right out of the theater, I would have had a completely different mindset to it. It's really disjointed as a film, in my opinion, but you're still getting that tragedy of Arthur Fleck. You're still getting that kind of pain that he's going through. And ultimately, I still think they delivered that. I mean, it's a little bit harder to follow for a general audience. Unless you're a really big Joker fan, it's gonna be kind of weird, but it does captivate you in the way that the set pieces are beautiful. The music, without question, is awesome. The singing is great, the characters are great. It's just that it's super disjointed. I think that's my biggest issue with this film. And I think that's what reflects the score. Now, getting into my rating for this movie, it's like I said, Joker 1, I'm gonna call it, just for lack of a better phrase right now, was able to deliver this grounded, gritty character study for Arthur Fleck, you know what I mean? And it was really hard. It's really hard to capitalize off of how good that film was. And this film, unfortunately, struggled to capture that in a way that was just as good as the original. I think it's unfair to say that it's a terrible, terrible sequel. I do think it's getting a little bit more of a bad rap. I've seen some of the scores of it that people are giving this. I don't quite rank it that low. I think this movie's gonna end up having a cult following. That's just my opinion on it, because it's gonna grow on people over time. At least it's grown on me in the last couple of days. I don't wanna get into any spoilers about what happens. I know a lot of people are talking about, you know, things that end up happening in this film. And I just think that it feeds into the tragedy. And ultimately, the things that happen in this film are the only things that could have happened to Arthur Fleck. So getting into my rating of this film, I'd have to give Joker a 3 out of 5. Now, this is a solid 3 out of 5. I really think this is gonna grow on people the more they watch it. If you're not a musical fan, you're not gonna enjoy this. If you're a super Joker fan though, you're gonna go in there, you're gonna understand the character study, and if you listen to the lyrics, it's gonna help you understand what is going on in the underlying situation of the story. I personally enjoyed the performances. I think Lady Gaga really has grown as an actress, and I really enjoyed her in this. Joaquin Phoenix, it goes without saying. But I really think this is a fair rating. I think this is a fair, you know, rating to this film, because I genuinely think it'll grow on people if they listen to the lyrics, if they're able to follow the character study. The film is incredibly disjointed. I don't think it's better than the first film. It's not necessarily something that is great as a sequel, but it's okay. It's an okay film. It was more so that we waited 5 years and this is the product that we got, but at the same time, it does its job. It does its job of completing the story and giving us a sequel that I think will end up growing on somebody. But what did you guys think of Joker 2? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Disagree with what I'm saying? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate if you like and share this video, or if you want to see more of good old Cuckoo, hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it, and it really helps me continue to make these videos. Be looking out for some of my horror, because we are now in the spooky season and I'm getting ready to start talking some horror films. I like some horror movies more than others, so we're gonna see what comes out of that, and I'm looking forward to talking that and hearing your thoughts on that. But guys, always remember, it's like my friend Arthur used to tell me, and that's